There's this guy I know named Marcus, makes $78,000 a year, has a decent apartment, a relatively new car, and all the streaming services. By every cultural measure, he's doing fine. But Marcus checks his bank account every Thursday with a low-grade sense of dread, because no matter what he does, the number's always smaller than he expects. He's not buying boats, he's not gambling, he's not losing money at the casino. He just has $47 left until Friday, and it's only Tuesday, and he has absolutely no idea where the rest of it went. I've been thinking about Marcus for a while now, because Marcus isn't an outlier. Marcus is America, and what's happening to Marcus isn't bad luck or laziness or a lack of financial discipline. What's happening to Marcus is a system, a deliberately engineered financial architecture designed to extract maximum recurring revenue from his paycheck before he even has a chance to think about it. And it's working perfectly. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make good money still can't seem to build any wealth. If you've ever looked at your bank statement and felt confused, not panicked, just confused, because the numbers don't match your sense of how you've been living, subscribe and like this video. What I'm about to show you isn't a budgeting tip. It's a structural analysis of how the modern economy has been re-engineered around your psychology. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's what I want you to understand by the end of this video. The shift from an ownership economy to a subscription economy is the largest quiet wealth transfer in modern American history. Not the 2008 crash, not inflation. This, the slow, frictionless, monthly extraction of money from people who work hard, believe they're being responsible, and have almost nothing to show for it by the time they're 55. And I'm going to show you the exact math that proves it. Let me start with a story that has nothing to do with streaming services, because the best way to understand a trap is to see it built before you're in it. In 1913, John D. Rockefeller was the wealthiest man in America by a margin that's almost difficult to comprehend. At his peak, he controlled about 1.5% of the entire U.S. economy. And when journalists asked him what his most important business insight was, he gave an answer that confused most people at the time. He said the most powerful force in business is not the one-time sale. It's the recurring payment. He wasn't talking about subscriptions, obviously. He was talking about something deeper. The fundamental principle that consistent, automated cash flow extracted from a large number of people compounds into empire-level wealth far faster than any single transaction. The people paying him didn't feel it. Each individual payment was small. The oil that heated your home, the gas for your lamp, the kerosene for your stove, pennies per transaction, billions in aggregate. Now fast forward to 2026. The most valuable companies in the world, Netflix, Adobe, Microsoft, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, are all at their core subscription businesses. They have built trillion-dollar market capitalizations on the exact same insight Rockefeller discovered over a century ago. The recurring payment is the most powerful financial structure ever invented. The only difference is who's on which side of it. Rockefeller was on the collecting side. Marcus is on the paying side. And so are you. Here's the number that changes everything. A recent analysis of thousands of household budgets found that while the average American believes they spend about $86 per month on subscriptions, the actual figure is $273 per month. That's not a rounding error. That's a $187 per month gap between perception and reality, which means most people are paying 3 times what they think they're paying every single month for things they don't own. Over a year, that's $3,276. Over a decade, I had even a conservative 7% investment return, that's $54,000. Over a 30-year career, it's over $330,000 in lost compounding wealth. Let me repeat that with clarity. The average American is hemorrhaging $330,000 in retirement wealth over the course of their career, not because of bad investments, not because of market crashes, because they're subscribed to convenience they don't fully remember signing up for. Now here's where the psychology gets interesting, because the subscription economy didn't just appear, it was engineered, and the engineering is brilliant. Think about how you buy a car. In 1985, you walked into a dealership, negotiated a price, paid it, and drove away owning something. The transaction was complete. You felt the weight of the purchase because you wrote a check for $12,000. On your brain processed that as a major financial decision. Today you walk into a dealership and the entire conversation has been shifted. Nobody talks about price. They talk about payment. What monthly payment works for your budget? Because $600 a month sounds so much more manageable than $42,000 total. Your brain processes $600 very differently than $42,000, even though they're the same thing. The dealership knows this. The financing company knows this. The manufacturer's marketing department knows this. You're the only one who doesn't know this. The average new car payment in America today is $737 per month, with loan terms stretching to 84 months, 7 years. Think about what that actually means. You pay $737 per month for 7 years. That's $61,908 total. For a car that started depreciating the second you drove it off the lot and will be worth maybe $8,000 by the time the payments end. And then, here's the elegant cruelty of it. Right as the payments end, right as you're about to own the thing outright, the dealerships make you an irresistible offer. Trade in your old car, roll the equity into a newer model, reset the payment clock for another 7 years. Most people do it. They spend their entire adult lives making car payments on cars they never actually own because the system is designed to capture them the moment they're about to escape. Compare that to what the math looks like on the other side. A 3-year-old Honda Accord purchased for $22,000 cash, driven for 10 years with average maintenance costs of $100 per month. Total cost of ownership over that decade, roughly $34,000. Hura, the subscription approach, 7 years of payments at $737, then trade-in and repeat. You're looking at over $100,000 spent over the same 10-year period for a vehicle worth less than $10,000. The difference between those two numbers, $66,000, is not a car. It's a retirement account contribution. It's financial independence, compounding quietly while you're stuck in the dealer's financing office signing papers you don't fully understand. But the car is just where the subscription economy is most visible. Let me show you where it's most insidious. The streaming overload is what I call the death by 1,000 subscriptions problem, and the math is almost comically terrible when you lay it all out. The average American household pays for 4.3 streaming services simultaneously. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Apple TV Plus, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and whatever Netflix competitor launched this quarter. At an average of $15 per service, that's $64 per month, $768 per year. For content, you could consume 3 hours of television per night for the rest of your natural life and never exhaust. Here's what's devastating about the streaming mass specifically. Research shows the average person actively watches content on only 2.4 of their streaming services in any given month. You are paying for 4 platforms and using 2. The other 2 are running in the background of your life, charging you $30 a month for the psychological comfort of knowing they're there if you want them. It's not entertainment spending. It's anxiety management, monetized at scale. Your great-grandfather had 3 television channels. He was thoroughly entertained. Such a you have access to more content than every human being who lived before 1995 combined, and you spend 25 minutes scrolling through options before settling on a show you've already watched. The abundance isn't making your life richer. It's just making the subscription company's shareholders richer. But the streaming services and the car payments, those are the visible parts of the trap. Let me show you the invisible part, the one that's extracting money from you in ways you genuinely cannot see without a spreadsheet. It's the software subscription racket, and it's specifically designed to create dependency that never ends. Adobe Creative Suite once cost $1,200. You paid it once. You owned the software. You could use it for the next 5 years without sending Adobe another dollar. And now Adobe charges $54.99 per month for the same creative tools. That's $659 per year. Over 5 years, you've paid $3,300 for software that used to cost $1,200. And here's the part that should make you genuinely angry. They've engineered your dependence so completely that if you stop paying, you can't open your own files, your own creative work, your own designs and documents, locked behind their paywall. They didn't just sell you software. They sold you access to your own productivity, and they can revoke that access the moment you stop paying. That's not a business model. That's an ongoing ransom. Microsoft Office, Dropbox, Photoshop, Lightroom, QuickBooks, Slack. Every tool that used to be a purchase is now a subscription. And the companies making this shift aren't doing it because subscriptions serve you better. Mosh, they're doing it because subscriptions generate predictable, compounding, recurring revenue that makes their stock prices explode. The subscription model exists to serve shareholders. The convenience narrative exists to serve the subscription model. And the subscription model is using your monthly payments to build financial empires while ensuring you build nothing. Let me show you the compounding problem, because this is where the real wealth destruction happens, and almost nobody calculates it. The average American household, when you add up the car payment, the streaming services, the gym membership they barely use, the software subscriptions, the phone plan running $144 per month, and the dozen other recurring charges that don't register emotionally because each one feels small, that household is spending somewhere between $1,100 and $1,400 per month on subscriptions and subscription-structured payments for things they don't own. Let's use the conservative number, $1,100 per month, invested instead at 7% annual returns over 30 years. That's $1.36 million. Sitting in an index fund, working while you sleep. Yours, not Netflix's, not Adobe's, not the car manufacturer's financing division. Yours. Instead, it's flowing out of your account every month in dribs and drabs that feel painless individually and catastrophic in aggregate. You are trading your retirement for the convenience of not owning things. There's an old metaphor about the frog in water. You know this one. Put a frog in boiling water, and it jumps out immediately. Put a frog in cold water and slowly raise the temperature, and the frog never notices until it's too late. The subscription economy raised the temperature so slowly, $10 here, $15 there, $8 for a trial you forgot about, that most people never noticed they were being cooked. Here's the structural reason this happened, and it's worth understanding because understanding the mechanism is the only way to defend against it. In 1990, the average American household had approximately 0 ongoing subscriptions. You bought things. You owned them. The transaction had a beginning and an end. Your relationship with a company concluded when the purchase concluded. By 2010, the average household had maybe 2 subscriptions, a cable plan and a cell phone contract. By 2020, and our research estimated the average was closer to 12. Today, across all recurring charges, including financing arrangements structured to feel like subscriptions, the average is tracking toward 18 separate monthly obligations. 18 ongoing financial relationships, most of which renew automatically, require active effort to cancel and generate 0 equity. The companies that figured this out first didn't just change their pricing models. They changed how an entire generation thinks about ownership. They ran the cultural campaign simultaneously with the business model shift. Ownership became associated with risk, with hassle, with commitment. Why own a car when you can lease and always drive something new? Why buy software when the subscription gives you automatic updates? Anush, why buy music when streaming gives you access to everything? The message was sophisticated, consistent, and enormously effective. They convinced you that renting is freedom, but renting is the opposite of freedom. Freedom is owning things outright. Renting is permanent obligation. Here's what the math looks like from the other side of this transaction, the side where the subscription companies sit. Netflix built a $300 billion market capitalization on your $15 monthly subscription. Adobe is worth $240 billion because they convince millions of professionals to pay them indefinitely for tools they used to own. Apple's services division, the part of Apple that includes iCloud storage and Apple TV and Apple Music, generates over $90 billion in annual revenue from subscriptions, when from people paying ongoing fees for access to things they don't own. These companies aren't just making money from your monthly payments. They're using your monthly payments to acquire assets, build infrastructure, buy real estate, and expand their monopolies. While you're renting everything and accumulating nothing, they're owning everything and accumulating at scale. The wealth is genuinely transferring from your account to theirs, $15 at a time, forever. Now, here's where I want to be precise because there's a trap in this analysis that I don't want you to fall into. I'm not telling you that all subscriptions are irrational. Some subscriptions genuinely replace more expensive alternatives. A $15 streaming service is cheaper than a movie ticket twice a month. A $10 music subscription is cheaper than buying albums. The problem isn't subscriptions as a category. The problem is the subscription mentality, the way of thinking about financial decisions that has been deliberately cultivated by the companies that profit from it. The problem is that the subscription economy has trained your brain to evaluate every expense as a monthly cost instead of a total cost. And that perceptual shift is what's destroying your wealth. Consider two people. Both need video editing software. Marcus, our friend from the beginning, looks at the subscription option. Only $30 a month, he thinks. He can afford that. He subscribes. 5 years later, he's paid $1,800, and the software could disappear tomorrow if he stops paying. His coworker David thinks about it differently. If I'm going to use this tool, I should find a version I can own. When he researches alternatives, DaVinci Resolve, for instance, which is professional grade and free to own. He spends nothing. Same capability, completely different financial outcome. The subscription thinking leads you to ask, can I afford the monthly payment? The ownership thinking leads you to ask, is this worth owning? These are structurally different questions, and they lead to structurally different financial lives. Here are 5 specific things you can do right now, not eventually, right now. Step 1, do the audit. Tonight, open your bank statements and your credit card statements for the last 90 days. Write down every single recurring charge, every subscription, every financing payment, every automatic renewal. Add them up, multiply by 12. That number is your annual subscription burn rate. Most people who do this exercise are genuinely shocked. The number is almost always 40% higher than they estimated. Awareness is the beginning of everything here. Step 2, apply the ownership question to every subscription you identified. For each recurring charge, ask yourself, does this replace something I would otherwise buy once? Am I paying for ongoing access to something dynamic that actually requires a subscription, like a news service that updates daily? Or am I paying subscription pricing for something that used to be a one-time purchase? Streaming services, where content genuinely changes, have a stronger case for the subscription model. Software that hasn't fundamentally changed since the last version you owned, much weaker case. Step 3, cancel the passive subscriptions immediately. Every service you haven't actively used in the last 30 days, cancel it today, not next month. Today. The gym membership you haven't used since February, the streaming service where you watched one show 6 months ago, the premium plan for an app you use 3 times a year. These are not subscriptions. These are monthly donations to companies that are already profitable. Cancel them. The average household recaptures $80 to $120 per month just from eliminating services they genuinely forgot they were paying for. Step 4, break the car payment cycle. This is the hardest one because it requires thinking several years ahead. The next time your car payment ends, whether that's 12 months from now or 48 months from now, do not go back to the dealership and start over. Take that $700 per month and redirect it immediately into an investment account. In 3 years, you'll have enough to buy a reliable used vehicle outright. Then drive that vehicle until it stops running. The compounding difference between someone who perpetually finances cars and someone who owns theirs outright across a 35-year career exceeds $600,000. The car payment isn't just a car payment. It's a $600,000 retirement reduction. Step 5, automate the recaptured money. This is the step that actually produces the outcome. Every dollar you recapture from canceled subscriptions and eliminated payments needs to go somewhere immediately, ideally into a low-cost index fund through an automatic transfer that happens the day your paycheck clears. Because if you recapture $400 per month from subscriptions and that $400 sits in your checking account, it will be consumed by something else within 90 days. The human brain doesn't protect uncommitted money. You have to commit it to your future self before your present self can spend it. Here's the bigger picture, because I don't want to leave you thinking this is just about canceling your streaming services. The subscription economy is the most sophisticated wealth extraction mechanism ever designed, because it exploits the exact psychological vulnerabilities that make us human. We're wired to discount future costs heavily relative to present pleasures. A payment that happens automatically, invisibly next month feels like almost nothing compared to a pleasure that happens right now. The tech companies that built this system understand behavioral economics better than most people who teach behavioral economics. They have thousands of engineers, psychologists, and data scientists working full-time to optimize the mechanism that keeps your money flowing into their accounts. You're not playing a fair game. You're playing a game where the other side has asymmetric information, asymmetric resources, and decades of refined psychological manipulation techniques. But here's what they can't engineer around. Math. The math doesn't care about your psychology. The math doesn't care about the convenience narrative or the freedom framing or the always have something new positioning. The math says $1,100 per month invested at 7% over 30 years is $1.36 million. And $1,100 per month paid to subscription companies over 30 years is $396,000 spent and zero assets owned. Those two outcomes, $1.36 million versus zero, are separated only by your decision about which side of the recurring payment you want to be on. The companies getting wealthy from your subscriptions aren't smarter than you. They just understood something first, that the recurring payment is the most powerful financial structure ever invented. Now you understand it too. The only question is whether you'll use that understanding to start extracting yourself from their system and building your own. Because Marcus, our guy with $47 until Friday, doesn't have a discipline problem. He doesn't have an income problem. He has a structural problem, and structural problems have structural solutions. Stop renting your life. Start owning it. Your future self is sitting somewhere 30 years from now, either watching the compound interest statement grow or staring at a subscription receipt for things that no longer exist. Which version of that future you're looking at depends entirely on what you do between now and then. Subscribe if this changed how you see your bank statement. Drop a comment below with the number you found when you did the audit. I want to see how wide the gap actually is for real people. And when the next new streaming service launches and offers you a free trial, remember what you learned today. Because the trial is free. The habit is $180 a year, and the habit is what they're actually selling.